And away we go. Welcome to another episode of the Pickup Meeting. Here we are. I always I stumble on the welcome to another show, episode, conversation, chat, meeting. What should it be? I don't know. But we're back, Brody. We're back. How you doing?
I'm doing great. You're pretty excited this morning.
I am excited this morning. This is a good week. Hey, listen, audience, it's Brody's birthday week. How fantastic is that? Happy birthday, Brody.
Thank you, my man. I am officially I've had an AARP kind of initiation, but I think now this year it's official. I get all the things if I join, all the benefits. So let's go. I'm here for it.
We have for our audio listeners, we have a scrolling happy birthday Brody going across the visual screen. So for your birthday, well, first of all, somebody asked me this question. Is it 55?
Yeah.
Okay.
55.
I couldn't remember if you're 10 years older than me or 11 years older than me at some points. It's 10 and sometimes 9.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you were like a 90s kid and I was an 80s kid.
Yeah. 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 And that's just, it's a good, that was a good time to grow up, 80s and 90s.
Yeah. I agree. Totally. The 80s were great.
Yeah, I started to experience all of the safety things that occurred in the 90s because of you 80s kids.
Yeah. I rode in the back of pickup trucks 30 miles to my grandma's house on the regular. Me and my brothers, the three of us. If my dad crashed, 3 deaths. That was going to happen. 4 deaths. There were 4 of us sometimes.
Right, you didn't have medicine. You had to walk uphill both ways to go to school. All the things.
Yeah, go ahead
for your birthday. What do you do? You're a healthy guy. Do you say, "Hey, I do want some cake on my birthday," or is it I want fruit? A banana.
Yeah, I don't know when this happened, Kevin, but growing up, I'm not a big cheesecake fan, but my mom made this Jell-O no-bake cheesecake and then would put cherry pie filling on top of it. So it's no-bake cherry cheesecake. And then usually I would put Cool Whip on top of that. God, I used to get that for my birthday every year. That was my birthday tradition. That my mom made me no-bake cherry cheesecake. I mean, Kevin, I could drink the cherry pie filling out of a can. That's how good that is.
That's amazing. I'm a huge cheesecake fan, right? So my birthday is typically a cheesecake. There's been a period of life where it was going to Dairy Queen and getting one of those ice cream cakes and just enjoying that coldness that you get and a little bit of a crunch. It's just so good. But for me now, anything in my go-to cheesecake for sure is a blueberry cheesecake. Anything blueberry for me is a win.
Yeah, I'm more of a lemon guy. Aside from cherry pie filling, I really like lemon. I love my lemon Bismarck, and there's a lemon ice cream that I really enjoy right now.
And then you put that blueberry and lemon together, and that's a win in my world.
Oh man, fantastic! There's an ice cream that is like a lemon blueberry parfait by Jenny's, which I love. It's great.
Jenny's ice cream. This is a sponsorship heavy start for us. Dairy Queen, Jenny's ice cream, We're really going to have to work on this again.
Yes, we are. We've got to get a sponsor. There's no question about that.
So now as you're getting a little older, we all are every day, but you're turning the calendar and gaining a year on. Let's reflect back.
Yes.
What is something let's say there's a fashion trend that you held on to for far too long.
Yeah. Yeah. We were talking about being an 80s kid and you were talking about being a 90s kid. Well, in the late 80s, high schoolers, kids like me, the young folk, we were rolling our jeans. And
I remember this. I do.
Yes. Matt asked if I have pictures, and I'm like, maybe, but they're not on my phone. I'm going to have to search them. I mean, we did. My phone was connected to my house in 1987, right? But I carried that tradition on a little too long. I think I was kind of post-grunge, still rolling my jeans, and that was a big problem. My wife made fun of me all the time. She was like, honey, you got to stop rolling those jeans. That fad went out a long time ago.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Your now wife or your then wife?
My then wife, my now wife, both the same.
Right. No, I understand it's the same woman. I'm not saying you were previously married. I'm saying that like you were married and still tight rolling your jeans.
Yes, 1994 is when I got married. I was still tight rolling my jeans.
That's far past the trend.
Like, no doubt. I agree completely. My wife
and she said yes. She really loves you.
Yeah,
she really loves you. If you were doing that and she still decided to marry you.
Imagine if I had showed up for my wedding day with rolled tux pants.
There's just no words. I'm blown away by this. Now I also want to see you in your tux. Like I want the tight roll jean pic that Matt was asking about, but I want to see you in your wedding tux just because it's fun. Like,
yeah, we got to get on that, no doubt. And how about you? You have to have something you've carried on way too long. Come on.
Yeah. So for me, it was one of those things. I tried to do the tight rolling of jeans probably in that late 80s time frame, and I could never figure it out. I really couldn't. I didn't get it, right? Like, I don't know if it's because I've always had big calves or what it is, but like, I just could never figure it out. And so like, that's never been an issue. I didn't have that one. But I will say, I'm a 45-year-old man that loves a backwards hat. And so for our audio listeners, I just threw on the backwards hat as we're recording. And so for our visual listeners, they're thinking, oh God, what is this guy doing? But yeah, so like I rock the backwards hat and will until the day I die.
Oh
right?
My goodness.
This is a good look on me.
Are you 13, Kevin? Come on.
I am. Here, we'll just do this for just a little bit. Just taking it in. Just throw the sunglasses on, backwards hat, have a little drink in your hand. Just enjoy the day.
Hop into your Corvette.
Yeah, listen, if you want to buy me a Corvette for my birthday, it's in June. We'll figure it out. But yes, it's so great. So that would for sure be mine. And I will embrace it until the day I die. The other part is for us, we're follically challenged individuals.
Absolutely.
And so we're going to have to wear a hat anyway, anytime we're outside. Forwards, backwards, I'm good either way.
I like my hat protecting me from the sun. You seem to want it to highlight your face, and we've already talked about my face. I'm not sure that's the best plan. I need sunglasses and a hat.
Yeah, I wear a lot of hats. It's probably why I'm follically challenged. I hear that's a thing. I don't know if that's true or not. Somebody Google us on that one.
So birthdays now, just dinner. I mean, usually for me, it's trying to spend time with my family, hopefully laughing and having fun like we're doing today. Usually at a place of my choice. Maybe
do you have like a go-to meal? Like, is it like I want a steak or is it just depend?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big pizza guy. So usually a pizza place or a favorite. I mean, in Evansville, we've talked about this. Like there are a bajillion pizza places that just kill it. And so usually if I'm in Evansville celebrating, we are usually hitting a pizza place. How about you? Are you a steak guy?
Yeah, I would say usually. I mean, it can be different, and I think it depends on the mood, but just generally, it's probably a nicer meal out. Steak, good pork chop. Pizza, I think, can happen. It just kind of depends where. Man, if I lived in some of the places you live, there's some great pizza places that are nearby you.
Yes, there are. Absolutely. I've talked about Evansville being an underrated pizza town, and everybody kind of laughs at me.
No, I think that's legit. All right. Well, I think we need to move on, or we're just going to keep talking about food and bad fashion choices.
Yeah. We have a lot more interesting things to talk about today, and a great guest.
Yes. Speaking of styling and profiling, right? Yeah. Like our guest today is Bobby Gandu. Bobby is the associate. There we go. Bobby with the shades on as he comes on screen. Bobby is the associate vice provost for strategic enrollment initiatives at Wichita State University. He leads admissions, Shocker transfer accelerators, Shocker Academy, and concurrent enrollment programs, and the Shocker Career Accelerator. It's almost as if that's shocking. But I would say Bobby and I got connected a couple years ago, and every time we have a conversation or he's sharing with the group, I'm always enlightened and learning through that experience and appreciative of his insight. And so we're really pumped to have you on today, Bobby.
Oh, it's really my great pleasure to be here, Brody and Kevin. I'm not sure how low on the list I sunk. I don't know that I'll be able to much add to your two witty banter that you've already got going, but I'm happy to be a part of the show today.
We've got to start with this shocker thing, right? Like you're a Wichita State guy forever and ever. And like you wear it. And I think it's almost an identity thing in some ways of like when people see Bobby, they think Wichita State. But like this mascot, and like, have you been there for the evolution of this? I know you have like a marketing background. What are your thoughts here on the mascot, the name, all of it?
Yeah, so just history and context for those of you who are not familiar with our beloved WuShock. Our original name was the WuShockers. So back in the university started in 1895. And so early in the 1900s, our students would work wheat harvest in the middle of Kansas in order to raise money for tuition, but also for those who were athletes to raise money for athletics uniforms and those kinds of things. So at some point in the early 1900s, the name WuShockers got stuck to Wichita State. And so that's what we had for years. We were the WuShockers. And then eventually that phrase got shortened to the Shockers. And in case you're not familiar with a wheat harvest, I can't say that I am, and we're not even an ag school. We have no ag programs, but the term shock wheat or shocking wheat means you bundle the wheat together and it helps through harvest. So that being said, again, we have no ag programs. Our students aren't necessarily working out in a field anymore, doing those kinds of things, most likely. But that name has stuck. And a lot of people get us, the shocker, confused with, bumblebees. I was actually in Oklahoma City just Monday of this week, and I was going through a drive-through on my way out of town, and the young man helping me at the door was like, "Oh, wow, what a cool-looking bee," as he looked at the car, the university vehicle I was in. So we get bee, we get corn, we get pretty much everything other than a bundle of wheat. But I also, one of my running jokes when I'm presenting at an event and trying to explain who WuShock is that if you look really closely, he is probably the only cannibal mascot that you will ever see, meaning that he is a bundle of wheat with a piece of wheat in his mouth. So he's like a wheat eating wheat. So it's kind of bizarre and, cannibalistic in some way. ESPN even named our mascot, I think it was ESPN, named our mascot one of the 10 ugliest in the country years ago. So we're actually kind of proud of that, that he's got such a unique look that people love him or hate him.
I think it's a classic look, right? It's a great mascot, right? One of the best in the country, to be completely honest, in my opinion.
Brody, so the family, we went on our first college tour for Braden, and we toured Wichita State. Bobby coordinated with us, and we got to go up and check this out. And the shocker is everywhere. The shocker, WuShock is everywhere. And even to the point where they have a YMCA on their campus. And I would say that version of WuShock is like he goes to the gym every day, right? So that's a different version. But
he's just buff, is what you're saying.
Oh my gosh, like just ripped. And it's a little intimidating, but that mascot is everywhere. Such an identity of the campus. It is just fantastic.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, Bobby, you talked about, or you sent us some information, and I'm really interested to hear how you've integrated marketing, which you said is your real interest, kind of into this role. It's something that you've been interested in and that you said you've really tried to integrate. Can you speak more to that?
Yeah. So, I started out in college first I was undecided for 2 years, like many of us do start out. We have no idea what we're going to do. And I started taking some business classes, and I really enjoyed my marketing class. And so that eventually led me down the path to finish an undergraduate degree in business, but with marketing as my major. And so at the time when I graduated from college, I was really thinking I'd go work in certainly for profit or for a company, doing marketing and advertising for some company. I thought that would certainly be my path in terms of a corporate life. And then when I graduated in 2002, the Wichita economy was just recovering from post 9/11. So if you kind of think back, to 2001, everyone was scared to travel in terms of on an aircraft. And so, the Wichita economy, which is largely an aviation-based economy, there's so much fear about companies here, or fear for companies here, and folks perhaps shuttering or, laying off employees. Nobody was really hiring at the time. So long story short, I just decided, okay, I'll continue on with my education. I started to pursue an MBA. And in the meantime, I was involved as a student leader on campus and had lots of connections on campus. And that led me down the path to just working initially in our alumni association. Did that for a couple of years as I was continuing my MBA, and then finished my MBA. But by that point, I had moved back into the admissions world, where I was already, or at least previously, a tour guide and student ambassador, did all the things. So I think between my involvement as an undergraduate student, being a tour guide, doing some other things in that realm as a student ambassador, and then, continuing into my degrees, marketing became, firepower for me. I just really enjoyed talking about what I was excited about and proud of. And at that time, it was certainly my affiliations with Wichita State. And then, I had great mentors along the way, people who looked out for me at Wichita State. And so even though I had a real itch to leave campus and go pursue corporate life and a marketing role off campus, people were just too good to me here. And people looked out for me. They gave me opportunities when I didn't deserve them. I think they had too much faith in me, but they gave me opportunities. And since then, I was, promoted to director of admissions. That gave me an opportunity to flex that marketing muscle in a way that I think, some marketing directors will really focus on process and operations. There's nothing wrong with that. Some will focus on marketing. And I had a little bit of both. I had some operations and processing background, and I had real passion for marketing. And so as my role has changed over the years and over the decades, I've really kind of taken a real interest in marketing in my role. And so I have a marketing team that we've stood up here in the admissions world, and they know that I'm going to come with ideas, that I want to be really involved. So as I tell them all the time, it's a gift and a curse, meaning that the boss wants to be really involved in marketing.
Yeah.
But with that, curse of my input and my feedback, and in many cases, my sign off. But with that also comes resources. And so I will bring to bear what I think we need to do to tell future students and families about Wichita State.
Yeah, it's certainly important to include your expertise in the work, right? And being able to leverage that is really valuable. I do agree that sometimes it can feel like, at least in my role here, can feel a little heavy-handed, but I'm glad that you've been able to strike that balance and still stay involved in the things that are really, that you have a real passion for. So that's awesome.
Yeah. And it's one of these things, Brody, as one of us on this call is getting older this week, that I'm curious, Bobby, because we are, and in this field where we're marketing and connecting with 16, 17, 18-year-olds, in a way of trying to show that education is a great path forward. How do you stay current in being a great leader, but being a leader that's incorporating those aspects of what you talk about?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is, I'm a news junkie. I love to have my news feed on any social platform, or just, my regular email traffic with newsletters. I love to read. I love to consume what is going on, not just in higher education, but in the world. I probably won't I'm in my 40s, so I'm a little bit behind you, Brody, just a tad. But
all good.
I think I'm probably, I've been watching news since I was in my 20s. And so I just believe in being connected to the world and to the news of both local and national settings, and making sure that I know what's going on. But more specifically with higher ed, and just kind of being aware of trends. Again, I like to consume. I like to read what's in front of me. I like to go out and seek information. I think I'm subscribed to no fewer than 75 newsletters that I get on a regular basis. And not that I'm reading them, all
skimming.
But yeah, skimming. And of course, I don't get to everyone every day. But, I like to see the headlines. I like to know we are needing to think about for the future. So I think that's really important. And then the other thing, which is partially how I got connected to Kevin, is very much believe in, not just for myself, but our team, professional development, going to conferences, meeting people, being aware of what national trends are, understanding who our students and families are these days. And as you both know, the world has changed very rapidly in terms of how families consider a college education. Right now, certainly for the students we're seeing at Wichita State, we have a lot of first generation students, a lot of low income students. A lot of families are thinking, even though for maybe the three of us, as we were coming through the ranks, higher education was probably a foregone conclusion. Perhaps our parents, at least my parents, there's no question of whether I was going to go to college. And my parents didn't have the benefit of college, but it was just a given. We're going to figure this out and you're going to go to college. But now families these days are really kind of pondering the question, even if both parents were college educated. And so I think the world has changed so much that we've got to make sure we're aware of what families' interests are, that, many families and students are thinking about workforce first and or technical education, which those are great paths too, but that's not what we're in the business for, right? We're in the business of typically 4-year universities and making sure that students are thinking about, at least as a starting point, a bachelor's degree. So I think it's really just a matter of being aware of the world around us and diving in with a passion, a zeal, and an interest.
Yeah, let's expand on that, right? Your family background, you were raised by parents who came from India, growing up in Kansas. How has that maybe shaped your view on access, equity, and the role of education and opportunity?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. I'm the child of immigrants. My parents grew up in southern India. They were, it's poverty, in southern India. And I've seen the childhood homes of where my parents grew up in, and my mom in particular. It's a hut, and there was no bathroom. It was very humble circumstances. And so as a child, I had the opportunity to go visit multiple times, and I saw how challenging it was, at least my perception of challenge, right?
Sure.
For them, it was just life, and that's how they grew up, and they didn't necessarily know or see differently because that was their circumstances. But they made a lot of sacrifices to come to the United States in the 1970s. And I was born here in the United States and was able to come through the U.S. education system. But again, I had that perspective of being back to India a few times as I was growing up. And I could see how really my relatives were living, my aunts and my uncles and my cousins. And of course, I think it took more time for me to fully appreciate it. But in time, especially when I hit my 20s, I realized how blessed I was, even though, we didn't have a lot of money growing up. But, we didn't want, there wasn't ever a day that we didn't have food on the table, but there was never excess. And so that gave me real perspective, and that allowed me to, when I became the admissions director, to focus on access and opportunity. I very much believe in the power of higher education, and that especially for low income and first generation families, that it can change trajectories for those families and those students. And so while I'm very much access oriented, I really want to make sure that we're considering that in all the services we do. Are we being intentional with what their needs are? And that's very much just based in how I came up and how I was raised.
Love that, Bobby. Love it.
Well, one of the things that when we're talking about having a guest on, like it's certain topics and certain themes. And right now, I feel like you're sitting in this place at Wichita State where you're kind of the epicenter of everybody's eyes. And some of that is, I would say, the innovation lab and the work that you're doing with that. But then as people start to look at the innovation lab on your campus, you get to things like the Shocker Career Accelerator and Shocker Academy and just different things that are, I think, being packaged really well, but also are really impactful in the education journey. Can you talk about your influence in that, and then also what you're seeing students on your campus and in that recruitment process seeing in these experiences, and really tying together the practical and the education aspect of it?
Yeah, so little background and context on Wichita State. So Obviously, we're a public university, and we sit in the largest city in Kansas. We have a 330-acre campus. Well, for years, 120 acres of that 330 acres was an 18-hole golf course. And more than 10 years ago, our then president made what I would call a courageous decision to upset a lot of local golfers and some folks on campus and close the 18-hole golf course that we had at the time.
Let's go.
Yeah, right.
That's what I do with a golf course too, to be completely honest.
Also closing. Well, you can imagine it was not necessarily a popular decision with many folks. That being said, 10 years ago plus, when that decision was made, and our then president had this vision to bring together companies, organizations, government agencies to our campus in this space where we had this golf course, because the idea was, let's bring them to campus. And in order for them to have these spaces where they're bringing in their full-time professionals, they have to work with our students. They have to hire our students for internships, for applied learning opportunities, for research, for potentially clinical opportunities, if we ever get so fortunate to where we could have that space utilized in such a way for, future healthcare practitioners. So that was a real bold vision. And many of us around were like, that sounds crazy and this will never work. But I can honestly tell you, 11 years later, that we are thriving because of that decision and the work that went in from a lot of people all over, not just the university, but the community, to get behind this idea of an innovation campus. So in its place, this 18-hole golf course, we now have 120 acres of organizations, companies, 2 brand new residence halls, retail, restaurants, and the YMCA that Kevin mentioned earlier.
That's amazing.
Yeah, in addition to about 15-ish structures that are housing organizations, companies, agencies. ATF, for example, has not just one building, they're building a second building. So the Federal Agency, Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, Explosives, they have a couple of centers of excellence on our campus. We have Airbus, major aircraft manufacturer, that has had an operation in downtown Wichita with about 300 professionals. They moved out of the building in downtown Wichita and they moved to our campus. So those 300 plus professionals are working every single day on our campus. I have lots of examples like this, but it's really been transformational, not just for our campus, but really our greater Wichita community. It's reminded them about the city of Wichita and our entrepreneurial spirit that we have. Kevin knows this because I think you saw it when you were on campus, but our community and really our 2 students who attended Wichita State started Pizza Hut. So 2 brothers, years ago, they got a $600 loan from their mother and started making pizzas in the basement of their fraternity house on campus. And they moved out of that operation. I'm not sure who's buying pizza out of the basement of a fraternity house, but that's a different discussion. But they moved into a building that was elsewhere in Wichita. It was literally a hut, and they were slinging pizzas out of that. And they just grew it into this great big national concept where they were franchising the idea. And so we always kind of joke, there's a lot of Pizza Hut millionaires here in town because all of their friends got involved and invested in the business really early. So anyway, we have this entrepreneurial spirit here in our community that's really tied well back into our innovation campus and revived, I think, the spirit of Wichita and all that we can offer here in this community.
Brody was one of those people that was buying pizza out of a fraternity house. That's what 80s kids did. And then there's regulations that was like, hey, folks, stop buying crap out of basements. Right. And so that's when that shifted.
Yes.
Kevin, Pizza Hut has such a soft spot in my heart. Like, we were talking about this the other day. My Christmas Eve dinner, we would go to 4:30 Mass, and there was a Pizza Hut about a 5-minute drive from our house. And we would go to Pizza Hut for Christmas Eve, the whole family, my mom and dad would. And it was like the most special thing in the world, right? The red and white tablecloth and getting our pizza. Here I was, a 13-year-old. I thought I was living on top of the world. Like, the greatest thing since sliced bread was Pizza Hut on Christmas Eve.
I don't even know what to do with it. That's amazing. That's great. I mean, such wonderful things that just stick out from family traditions. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, Brody, if you ever find your way, passing through South Central Kids, is please come see me, because we have the very original Pizza Hut building on our campus now, and it's set up as a 300 square foot museum. It's the smallest museum you'll ever see, but it has the red and white checker tablecloth, the Tiffany Pizza Hut lamp, the Book It pizza program, if you're familiar with that. It's very nostalgic. Like, I can still walk in there. It's right behind our welcome center where I'm office out of, and I can walk in there and I can like smell the pizza baking in there. It's very nostalgic for me.
It's by far my favorite chain pizza, Kevin, right? It is by far my favorite chain pizza. I think it's all about the memory, the psychology of it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I don't want to skip through some of the things that Bobby talked about there while we get stuck on food again. Listen, like, everyone that listens to this is just going to think we're hungry all the time. But
what's wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing. A couple of things stand out to me in your answer there, Bobby, on the innovation part of things is I think what you're talking about is the future of education, and the fact that you are in that current and you are in that progressive part is just kind of a transformational thing. And I think about my son, Braden, and on being on the tour and going through parts of that innovation lab. And I'm going to get it wrong, but like, you have a student organization that builds like for mobility with children that don't have mobility issues, that build certain things specifically for those kids. And like, we saw students going in and out and then stopping to talk to us that day about that experience. And I walked away thinking, they're having the most transformational experience and they don't even know it. Like, that's what's happening in this experience. And that's just amazing.
Yeah, that lab that you're mentioning, it's called it's called Go Baby Go. And what they're doing is, our students originally started as engineering majors. And what they were doing was they were taking, those toy cars, Power Wheels that, the three of us probably, ran over our siblings with, when we were younger. But they're retrofitting those toy cars for children with disabilities and have access challenges. And it's really amazing. So as an example, if a child isn't able to perhaps use their feet in the same way that other children could, then they might make it so that the gas is hand crank or something like that. So it gives those children the same opportunity to have fun in those kinds of vehicles. And I'll tell you, the most heartwarming thing you'll ever see is what they call delivery day. They do delivery day a couple times a year, where those students will take their work and give it to the children, and the children just have a ball running all over the building, in the cars and the vehicles. Now they have an opportunity to run over their siblings and really enjoy it. So that's the lab that you were mentioning there, Kevin. And what's great is we started with engineering majors, but I think there was great realization that we need to involve other majors, because when we bring together, diverse interests and diverse perspectives, you can really improve what we're doing. And so I think they actually first started with health professions majors, because we have physical therapy, physician assistants, some other programs where they're regularly thinking about what patients' needs are. So I think that's where we started to evolve into other majors who are also now actively part of that Go Baby Go experience.
There's a real connection to community element that I think is important here too, right? Like, Kevin, at my previous institution, University of Southern Indiana, right, it was created in the 60s, and one of the distinct missions was to serve the economic needs of the region. And right, so the other piece, Bobby, I would assume, is that this program is really serving the needs of the community too, and building those strong relationships is really important for institutions like Wichita State, like Illinois State, Central Arkansas, the University of Southern Indiana. And I just kudos to your president at that time, who kind of really was thinking kind of visionary in terms of getting this done and being able to use this now as a great recruitment tool for students, right? Actually contributing to the needs of the community as a part of your undergraduate experience. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's really been just that amazing. And if our current president was here and your guest, he'd do much better than I would. But
I don't know about that.
what he would really tell you is exactly what you just said, Brody, that we're ultra focused on serving the needs of and uplifting our economy, our workforce, our employers in this community, because we want them to hire our graduates. We want them to see us as a talent source where they can continue to grow their company. And so that's a really important part of why we even created this innovation campus. We see our niche as serving the needs of South Central Kansas, which includes to a large part the employers here. We're soon going to have Boeing back in town. Boeing was here and they kind of spun off to a different business, but they're reacquiring it now. So Boeing will be a major employer with around 10,000 employees here. Lots of other large aircraft manufacturers are here, but we've diversified. There's another large company here that's headquartered here. It's the second largest privately held company in the world, and it's just down the street from us. And they hire our graduates on a regular basis too. So it's just important to us as part of our identity that we're serving the needs of companies, organizations, nonprofits here in our area.
That's great.
I think your president's great, but I'll say, like, Bobby, you're killing it here, right? Just filling us in all the information. Also, like, you have a voice for these podcasts. You should do this more often. Like, it's just like listening to Bobby talk about Wichita State. There's your podcast name.
Yeah.
Well, our president has a podcast, so with all due respect, I will happily stand down and let him run a university podcast. But I've been a guest a couple of times on a few other shows, and I'm obviously really proud of what we're doing here at Wichita State. And as the world changes and evolves, to me, it's just really being proud of higher education and the work collectively that you two, many others all over the country do to help students in the United States.
Bobby, this is an area that I think is important for all three of our institutions, but I'm clearly no expert in this space. My focus has been mostly on first-year students and more broadly retention, improving retention, and academic support services. But Wichita State's been the #1 transfer destination in Kansas for many years, and that's just not a population that I've spent a lot of time learning about. How has your office built, maintained strong transfer pathways? And what do you think are the biggest levers for improving the transfer student experience?
Great question. Yeah, we always brag that we've been the #1 transfer destination in the state of Kansas for 14 years in a row, which means students attending a Kansas community or technical college are transferring to Wichita State at a rate that's higher than any other university in the state of Kansas.
Wow.
And so that we also were doing a deeper dive on some of the data on this. And we're also finding that students, frankly, are transferring from another Kansas university to Wichita State at a higher volume than the other universities too. And there are 2 larger universities in the state that offer wonderful opportunities. But
so hold on, Bobby, like we're all regional institution folks. And so like, you may not be able to say this out loud, but what I hear you saying is you have a lot of students that transfer to Wichita State because they see a better experience for them there than they might at the University of Kansas or at Kansas State University.
I'm not going to bite on that one. What I will say is those students may find a fit here that is more in line with what they're looking for professionally and perhaps personally too. We are, as I mentioned, in the largest city in Kansas, so we're a very different experience than in the 2 examples you provided, Lawrence, Kansas, and Manhattan, Kansas, both great college towns. We're just a different experience, right? So sometimes students are looking for perhaps a larger city, different cultural experience, more concerts, other attractions that a larger city could offer, more shopping, more dining. We've talked a lot about food, right? So, I think there are some great opportunities. And really for our students, what we talk about is that means you have access to the large workforce here. So internships, applied learning opportunities. You get to do those things. You don't have to wait for a summer to finish up an internship or look for an internship. Yeah. You can do that as an accounting major and go work for the largest accounting firm in the state of Kansas right here in downtown Wichita. You can do that during the fall or spring. You don't have to wait for the summer when you've got time to move somewhere else and then find a company that's willing to work to hire you. But to Brody's point, you're trying to make me walk into a landmine, Kevin. Thank you very much.
And I even referred to him as University of Kansas and not KU. And so like my Kansas friends and Kansas State friends are going to be so angry about this. And it's kind of amazing.
To Brody's question.
I'm not looking to make enemies. I just wanted to learn something.
Yeah. You know, I think we found our sweet spot with transfer students through some great partnerships with, there's a few colleges that are local to us, meaning that for the most part, they're less than an hour away. Some are even closer than that. So we've tried to form strong partnerships with those two-year colleges. You know, to be honest, we are competing to have high school seniors attend Wichita State, but they also want those students too. And so I think we found that it's all good if a student wants to start at a two-year college, then we're going to just make sure that those two-year colleges don't necessarily see us as a threat or a competitor. In all cases, really, you know, we're happy that if the student lands at a two-year college first, we want to go and access that two-year college, have a good partnership with them through either transfer articulation agreements, just regular presence, awarding transfer scholarships regularly, having a dual advising approach. So then if a student is either starting or in the midst of a two-year experience, then they don't need to wait to transfer to start meeting with an advisor at Wichita State. Let's get going on that process early so that there is no waste in transfer credit, that we want to bring in all the credit we can and have little to zero waste on those transfer credits. And certainly if the credit is coming to us from any of the Kansas community colleges, we'll at least take it as elective, but of course, most importantly, we want it to count towards the major and the degree courses that are required. So we've really just done that through a lot of hard work, relationship development. There's been times where we have sent out university administrators to other colleges have come to us. We want it to feel like a partnership, very much so.
Absolutely love that.
I would say too, Bobby, and I think that your marketing perspective plays a factor in this, but having spent time on your website, for transfer students, the messaging that you use through your website, I don't know that anybody does it better. Like it's just a tremendous outreach and effort. So for our listeners, that's probably a website to check out if you're in that world of transfer and seeing how institutions are really talking to students in a website based way. Like you all do exceptionally well there. So kudos on that effort.
Thank you, Kevin.
So we ask this question frequently, and I'm just curious. How do you measure whether you've moved the needle? Like we all have a busy day or week and you know, just a lot going on, but what are those signs that you look for to know that you're making a meaningful impact in your work?
You know, I'm reminded of a story just really as recently as last night. It's humorous to me, but, you know, in the vein of our, you know, ongoing food discussion here, last night we were celebrating my youngest daughter's, my now 7-year-old daughter's birthday, and she chose to go to Chick-fil-A, of course. So, you know, we saddle up after soccer practice and go to Chick-fil-A. And, I pre-ordered the food. We were sitting down to eat. My wife ran up to the register to grab something. I'm not sure, a condiment or something. And so I noticed she was talking to the young man that was serving her behind the counter. And she came over to me. She just started laughing. And I said, "What's so funny?" She said, "Well, the young man behind the counter said, Are you Trish Gandu? Are you Bobby Gandu's wife?" And she said, "Yes," not knowing where that was going. And he said, this young man who we, you know, determined was a high school senior, he said, "Oh gosh, I know who Bobby is, and I've seen him speak at multiple events, and I just think he does a good job. So I've been trying to, you know, attend events and activities that he's been involved in." So she was relaying this story to me because, you know, she is not impressed at all. You know, no big deal.
I understand that a lot.
Yeah. If you have a good spouse, they will always ego check you, right? So she's not impressed at all. But for me, you know, I guess that was like some small like encouragement that not that I am impressive, but that hopefully the things I'm communicating and sharing at events land with someone, and that they feel, whether it's Wichita State or somewhere else, you know, that they feel that they understand who we are as a university and whether or not we're going to be the right fit for them. So I guess I take some encouragement in that. And in fact, I emailed that young man. I went up to him later, and his line was long, so I couldn't talk to him very long. But I just said, you know, my wife mentioned that you knew who I was, and I just wanted to say hello. And so I emailed with him. I sent him an email last night around 10 o'clock. He emailed twice this morning already, before or around 6 a.m. So for me, it was like super fulfilling to like see this young, ambitious man who's working at our local Chick-fil-A and working hard. I mean, the kid's up at 6 a.m. grinding away.
Yeah.
So I think I always just feel hope and excited when I get to connect with students at such a specific level.
That personal touch, Bobby, is so important. I always appreciate folks that, after you have just those brief conversations or you say you're going to follow up, just doing what you say you're going to do. But that personal touch means the world for that student. There's no question about it.
Amen.
He's not going to forget that.
Amen.
All right, let's get to some of our lighter and maybe a little more fun topics. What's more iconic, the Pizza Hut roofline or the Shockers logo?
Oh man. No, the Pizza Hut roofline is going away these days. They don't make them like they used to, right? So, gosh, I hope the WuShock and the Shocker logo it will carry on and manage the test of time.
All right, so you are a big basketball fan. Like, what's this like great Wichita Shocker moment that lives with you? That is just part of that story and that admiration for your institution.
Well, Kevin, anytime when we talk college basketball, I always want to acknowledge that, I grew up as a Bulls fan, so I watched, not that it was hard to watch, but Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan, all the days growing up. And so, I always, was first impressed with you that you worked at the same institution that Scottie Pippen attended. So I want to acknowledge that and shout out to Scottie. That being said,
he was in the building recently.
Oh man.
And it was one of those, like I came off the elevator and was walking, and then I looked down the hall and I'm like, well, that's Scottie Pippen, and that's just, that happened. And
I loved him as a player, but that dude has a voice for a podcast.
Yes.
That dude's voice is awesome.
Yes, yeah. I agree. But the Shocker basketball moment for me, we've been fortunate. We had a tremendous run in the 2010s, including a berth in the Final Four. And so, I was riding shotgun alongside the team in terms of like just getting to go to games and knowing the coaches and the players. So for me, really a fun moment was, or maybe a sequence of moments was, the basketball coaches at the time. I was really astounded when they first took over when Greg Marshall first took over as our head coach. He wanted to meet with the admissions staff, which was really unusual. It's not often an NCAA Division I athletics coach of any sport wants to meet with the admissions team. But I remember vividly sitting in a room in the Welcome Center where where they were asking us, how do you sell the university? We need to learn from people who are doing this.
Wow.
How do you sell the university to future basketball players?
Wow.
So we told them what we would share, and that resonated with them. So anyway, when they would bring prospective student athletes, prospective basketball players to campus, they would actually call me and ask me to give them tours. And I'm, again, just a basketball junkie. And I'd be like, yeah, sure, I'll give tours, and they didn't pay me, they weren't giving me any tickets or anything like that. But I already had season tickets that I was purchasing personally. But I just loved the access. I loved getting to know the coaches over the years and frankly, getting to know the players. And so maybe for me, you asked, what's a memorable moment, Kevin, aside from attending the Final Four with the team and just getting to take all of that environment in and that run and what that was like. But I gave campus tours to Fred Van Vliet, who was an NBA world champion, Landry Shamet, who plays in the NBA, Ron Baker, who's a local legacy. Everyone knows that name around here, and he was a big part of our Final Four run. But I gave campus tours to those guys and many others, Austin Reeves, who plays with the Lakers. So those were like really cool moments for me as a basketball junkie.
Yeah,
that's
very
awesome.
cool.
I can't ask a more fun question than that. You stink, Kevin, right? You have to ask the most fun question.
That was a great one.
So Bobby, I noticed in the note that you sent us, you're a big movie guy. Like, is there a movie that kind of has changed the way you think about the world, or one that's really touched you in meaningful ways? Like, I know I have movies like that, but do you have a movie that you really enjoy that's kind of important to you?
Oh gosh, that's such a broad question. There's probably dozens that I could do a whole movie podcast. Maybe that's what my podcast should be.
Yes,
movies, talking about movies. But no, I don't know. I love anything with Denzel Washington, Tom Cruise, Tom Hanks. They were, just making incredible movies. When I would have my kind of regular movie going experiences, when I had money to burn, time to burn, and I could go sit in a theater for 2.5, 3 hours and just enjoy that experience and not be worried or thinking about a cell phone, worrying about other responsibilities. So I don't know. I mean, I could name lots of movies that have been a part of my both college and later history. Back to the Future is always one that sticks out to me as a favorite. Anytime that it gets shown on a local small theater as like a celebration of a 30-year anniversary or 40 or whatever, 50-year anniversary. I guess we're not quite 50 years on that movie yet, I don't think.
40, I think, is where
40,
we are.
Yeah. So, just movies where magic is just magic. And it's memorable what you see on the screen, and it gets quoted all the time in your lifetime. I mean, like a funny movie that we just quote all the time is like something like Tommy Boy, just a whole range of movies that I love. What about you guys? I'm curious if you guys have movies that you really enjoy that you go back to a lot.
Yeah, I go.
He turned the tables.
I know. This is why he could do this.
I mean, I was telling Kevin, I think the ending of Forrest Gump, like I just ball every time, right? Like kind of the idea of where do we sit in the world, right? Is it predestined, or is there do we get to make some choices there? And just kind of this ordinary person doing his best to live an extraordinary life. I think that's really impactful. And then I mean Shawshank Redemption's pretty good too, like in terms of, Get Busy Living or Get Busy Dying. Like those two kind of stick out in my mind. Comedy wise, like I've had trouble finding something that I've enjoyed more than Hangover, right, in my adult life. Like the first Hangover movie's pretty amazing, I think.
I agree.
How about you, Kevin?
Yeah, I think Shawshank's on my list, but then those that it's interesting when you're trapped on a plane, the things that you'll embrace. And so then it's like, I think these are my movies that I would say are go-to. Like if I can find The Natural on TV, if I find Rudy, Moneyball, and then like the non-traditional one for me, which is like people are like, really? Like you're saying this out loud? I love How to Train Your Dragon. Like it is like one of my favorite things ever. Music, the whole thing. It's so fantastic. And so recently I was on a plane and watched the new one, not the animated one, twice on the way there, way back. Same movie. Just watched it. The music's just great. Just loving it.
Great. I agree. You nailed that.
The firepowers of movies are amazing. My children growing up, they really enjoyed The Greatest Showman. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
That's great music.
Once we went to like a sing-along version in a local theater, and I'm getting chills even just thinking about it. Just the way in which the audience reacts to that movie in particular, and everyone knows all the lyrics to the songs. And I got chills sitting in that theater listening to because it was a sing-along. So everybody was singing, people were dressed in costumes. And there's just something about that element where people are so passionate and excited about something that you forget everything else in the world and you just soak it all in. It's really amazing.
I'm a big Disney person, and so people will say, like, what's your favorite thing to do when you're in Disney? And there's this sing-along, Frozen Ever After, right? And like I will say, I don't know that I've seen all the Frozen movies, no idea. I love all things Disney. And you go into this theater and there's people singing and then the songs come on, and to see these little kids get up.
I cried when I was in there for that.
Right. And just like have their arms out, singing the song, singing along. It is just transformational. It's the best. I agree with you, Bobby.
Yes.
I sat in there and just smiled the whole time. And tears are running down my face. Like the kids sitting next to you and behind you there are so excited. I agree, man. It was awesome.
All right. Well, favorite. What's your? We're gonna move forward to things that are not Frozen or sing-alongs. Although we could turn this into a musical. Bobby, you game for that? No,
I'm not gonna sing for you, but yeah,
okay.
I'm game for
it. We could have Matt clip that and send it to your campus. It'd be fun. Yeah. You mentioned it. You enjoy concerts. You enjoy going to concerts. We've had this conversation about some that you've seen. Like what's your top standout concert? Brody's a big concert guy.
In an earlier episode, Brody, you mentioned the Killers, and so the Killers is easily my number one. I've seen them, probably 6-7 times live. And the most amazing thing was last about a year ago, they did a residency out at, I think it was the Mirage. Gosh, I'm mad at myself that I can't remember precisely. I think it was the Mirage. Anyway, so they did a residency out in Vegas. So in case you don't know, they're from Las Vegas. Yeah. They kind of got their start there. Yeah. And what they were doing was they were playing cover to cover their entire first album. And That's awesome. They set up a residency, did it for a couple months. And I went to one show. We went to two shows. But anyway, the first show, Brandon Flowers, the lead singer, gets up there and he talks about how he got his start as a busboy working at that venue. But when they were just getting started as a band, he was just trying to find his footing in Vegas. He started as a busboy, but then he's doing essentially a sold out residency. Again, just got chills thinking about the trajectory he was on with the rest of his bandmates. So The Killers is my number one. They are incredible live, highly recommended. Even if, everyone knows, Bright Side, their most popular song by far, but man, every song is really good that they perform live. So The Killers, but I'm also a big Jay-Z fan. I've been seeing Jay-Z multiple times.
That's fun.
I've seen range of acts. I just saw Ludacris recently. He was at the State Fair here in Kansas.
Wow.
So I love, different kinds of music. Garth Brooks puts on an incredible show. I've seen Garth Brooks, Pink. I have a whole range of acts that I love to see. I just enjoy live music.
Kevin, this is how old I am. In 2005, at the NACADA annual conference in Vegas, I saw The Killers right after Hot Fuss got released.
Wow, yeah.
And Bobby, they didn't have enough songs, so I think they opened and closed with Mr. Brightside. they played it twice.
Yes.
I'm maybe I'm misremembering, but I'm almost certain they did do that. Like, that's crazy.
Yep. I love that about them too, because they're still playing Brightside now, because so many acts, and performers are like, we're not going to play all the hits. We know you guys, that's what you want. But I've heard Brandon Flowers talk about it during the interview. He's like, listen, I know you guys want to hear the hits. And so we'll play them and they'll get to them. So I really appreciate that they are wanting to have it be a memorable experience for their fans.
That's great.
All right, we're going to hit 4 or 5 of these lightning round questions as we wrap things up. You mentioned being out visiting schools, visiting different areas. What's always in the car when you're out visiting for your road trips?
Certainly beverages and snacks. Like I'm at that stage of my life where I have to have a bag of snacks with me, a few kinds of chips, some turkey jerky from Trader Joe's, some cookies. So that's always going to be riding shotgun with me.
Very good.
What's a campus tradition that never fails to remind you that you love Wichita State?
Listening to the fight song as the team comes out and the crowd is amped up, ready to go at a men's basketball game. It's just something that it could be 2025 or it could be 2014. It still feels very special to me.
It's great.
Be honest, is March Madness the best sporting event of the year?
In my opinion, yeah, there's certainly other events that could make that claim. But if you just think about that month plus of activity where everyone is excited and then crushed, heartbroken, and then, those final teams that make it to that last stage, I just don't know that it gets much better than that.
Are you a morning person or night strategist? Like, when do the best ideas hit?
Before kids, it was definitely morning. I'd come to the office at 5:30 in the morning and start working. Post kids, now I'm relegated to work late into the evenings instead. So yeah, nowadays I'd say evening.
Okay.
So when you're really thinking about a leadership book or a podcast that's changed how you think about your work, what stands out?
A book that we had our staff read just this last summer is called Unreasonable Hospitality, and it has nothing to do with higher education. What it does is it articulates the story of a restaurateur in New York City who really wanted to create a phenomenal restaurant experience. And so there are all these little stories where they talked about intentional strategy with customers and kind of making things memorable for their guests who were coming through. And so we talked about implementing some similar parallel ideas with our staff here and some of our campus visitors.
Do you have a favorite Wichita food spot? Like, I mean, we gotta hit food for sure.
So there's a food truck. I love food trucks too. So there's a food truck called the Flying Stove, and my problem is they don't serve 7 days a week and 3 meals a day. It's like you got to catch them. These guys are working 2 or 3 days a week, and they set up for limited hours. So for me, it's probably a little bit of like they're only open a limited amount of time, but they make the best sandwiches, burgers, tacos. And they kind of know me by name because I'm just a regular there on the one time a week that they're open. And they worry about me if they don't see me on a given week if I'm traveling. So it's called the Flying Stove Food Truck. It's phenomenal.
That's great.
All right, last one. Something that always makes you smile. Maybe that's a student success story, something personal hobby that keeps you grounded. What's that thing that just leaves you feeling good?
Yeah, for sure, student success stories, thinking about our grads walking across the stage. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I'm not going to commencement. I've been to enough commencements in my life, but seeing their posts on LinkedIn and seeing them be excited about their first job after college or a major internship while they're still in college, that is for me fulfilling. But aside from that, gosh, just watching my kids do things, sports, make jokes, and just having a good time with my kids. All three of our kids right now are playing soccer, and so I think there's it's just something special for me to go out on a Saturday morning and go watch those kids. A couple of them or all of them really have figured it out in different ways. They're really young, but I get so excited when they either score a goal or one of them likes to play goalie. And if she makes a big stop, we get really excited for them.
Fantastic.
Wonderful. Awesome. Well, thank you for spending some time with us. Hey, happy birthday to your daughter as well. You said daughter, right?
Yes. Yeah. My youngest just turned 7 yesterday.
Oh, that's great.
Gosh, that time frame being so close to Brody's birthday, it feels like, they're so connected. That's just right. The way it works. But happy birthday to your daughter. Thank you for being on the show with us today. We appreciate learning from you, and I know our audience will too.
Yeah, it was great to meet you, Bobby.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, guys. All the best.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Oh, wow.
Right? How fun. I will also say this, and I'll have to talk to Bobby about it afterwards, but I also think Bobby needs a career in politics because there's some answers that we kind of set up that was like, ooh, where will he go? And he sidestepped, he walked the line, he didn't take the bait. He did real well. Like I just really enjoyed that conversation.
Yeah, thanks for thinking about him and bringing him on to the show. I really enjoyed our conversation today. That accelerator, that transformation in their campus. Wow.
The thing I couldn't help but think about is when I visited campus, and maybe like our listeners in Kansas, and we have quite a few listeners in Kansas, that maybe this is the norm, but I keep thinking they took away the golf course, and thank God for that, because that day that I was there was the windiest day I've ever experienced in my life, I feel like. And I couldn't imagine hitting a golf ball because listen, mine probably would have gone crooked anyway. This may have straightened it out. I don't know. It was so windy that day. But to have that thought, and I think Bobby used the idea or the notion of it being a wild idea, right? Like to do this, to make this change. And sometimes those things that can be transformational on our campus are those wild ideas, are those changes that people will sit there and say, what are we doing? Like, really? And then you flash forward, 15, 20 years, and it really, I think, has put that campus and what they're able to provide for students as far as an experience in a real just transformational stratosphere for them.
Yeah, there aren't many people that can kind of relay that kind of confidence and vision for something and then get it done, right? And so kudos to Wichita State, right, as an institution to kind of take that idea and run with it and transform the institution forever.
Like this is the standard.
Yeah. Wow.
I know. Well, let's go back as we wrap things up today to this 80s and 90s conversation. And one of the things I think is real fun is to think about the things that used to occupy your time and used to be a part of your everyday. And so I'm curious about the toys that you were obsessed with as a child. And it could be child, teenager, however you want to phrase it. But like when we're talking about ending on our three things, what are those 3 toys that you were obsessed with?
So I remember in kindergarten, there was a little boy named Joseph, and Joseph and I would battle for the Batmobile, like this big Batmobile car that was like from the 60s version of Batman. And I always hated it when I didn't get to school first, because he would grab the Batmobile car, and if I got to school first, I would grab it. And neither one of us were very good at sharing at the time. My wife would probably say I'm not even very good at sharing now, but back then. And then, the video game era kind of started in the 80s and the late 70s, and I didn't have an Atari. I had this video game console called Vectrex, and it was just, my brothers and I were fascinated, right? We were on Vectrex all the time, and Vectrex is still a thing. Like if you go to a hobby store or an old video game store, they're pretty valuable. Like my brother, I think, still has it and has the 13 or 14 games. I think they only made like 30 games, and we were addicted to that.
How cool.
And then you mentioned birthdays. Like I remember my 10th or 11th birthday getting a Nerf football, red and white Nerf football, and man, Nerf footballs, come on. They were great.
They were great.
They were great. How about you? What were your 3 things?
Like mine, I think there's a good rotation. Depends on time frame of life, but I used to be like such a action figure or like car person. And when I say car, I mean like the micro machines, like growing up and having the micro machines. And I'm so thankful that my mom kept those, because even Braden played with the micro machines and G.I. Joes and little Star Wars action figures. And there was a period of time where I was very big into the WWF at that time, WWF, with the wrestlers and the ring and all the things, just playing with those guys. I was a big video game guy, so I vaguely remember having an Atari that, and that was a thing, and playing, was it Pong, where it would bounce back and forth. Yeah. But then for sure, I remember the Christmas I got a Nintendo, and just like such a transformational part of like my childhood experience. It probably made me lazier, but I did play a lot of games and had fun with that. But then probably the one that says, oh, this is like what you still do, baseball cards. I would view that as a toy, because nowadays when you are doing something, you're like, oh, I'm going to Google this about so-and-so. But back in the day, it was like you got the card and you're reading about Tom Brunowski, right? Or like what he achieved before he became a Cardinal when he was a Boston Red Sox. And like you're reading through the stats. And man, I loved going through the baseball cards and collecting them and learning different things and seeing the stats. And they put little stories at the bottom of certain ones, especially if they were Topps cards. I loved it.
Yeah, everybody thinks, Brody, your first favorite player was probably Ozzie Smith, right? You're a huge Cardinals fan, but my first favorite player was Gary Templeton. I got a Gary Templeton baseball card on my bookshelf behind me. Like, he was the shortstop for the Cardinals when I was starting Little League, and God, I loved him. And then he I think he was the first guy to get 100 hits on both sides, right? He was a switch hitter, and he was never better than he was when he was playing for the Cardinals in the late 70s and early 80s. But yeah, baseball cards were awesome.
Is Gary Templeton your favorite random Cardinal?
He is probably my favorite random Cardinal. Absolutely.
I think mine is Tom Lawless.
Oh,
if you can find that bat flip from the 1987 World Series, there's nothing cooler than that.
We've worn our welcome, I think, Kevin.
Yeah, we have.
Talk about this forever. So, all right, folks. Hey, that's it for this edition of the Pickup Meeting. We hope your own meetings, whether they're formal or pickup style, are as meaningful and fun as this one. Thanks again to Bobby, our guest, Bobby Gandu from Wichita State.
Thank you, Bobby.
Absolutely. Until next time, do good and be nice.